Let's go to Washington with NBC's Ryan Nobles tracking the latest on Capitol Hill. Gary Grumbach has more on security and storm impacts. Also with us, Melanie Zanona, Punchbowl News senior congressional correspondent and MSNBC political contributor. Ryan, walk us through what we're about to see this afternoon.
Well, Anna, what will be most remarkable about what takes place here today on Capitol Hill is how unremarkable it will be. Of course, 4 years ago, this day, the attempt to certify the election results of then Joe Biden's electoral victory were interrupted by a mass group of Donald Trump supporters trying to intervene and stop the peaceful transfer of power. None of that is expected today. In fact, it'll probably be a very drama-free event that begins here at 1 o'clock today, where Speaker Mike Johnson will gavel in the House of Representatives. There will be a short joint session of Congress where they will then certify the election results in both the House and Senate. And presiding over that activity in the Senate will be the Vice President, Kamala Harris, who, of course, lost that election in November. And this morning, she talked about how important she views her role and how important she views the peaceful transfer of power. Take a listen.
Today at the United States Capitol, I will perform my constitutional duty as Vice President of the United States to certify the results of the 2024 election. As we have seen, our democracy can be fragile, and it is up to then each one of us to stand up for our most cherished principles.
And everything that's going to take place here today couldn't be more different than it was 4 years ago. The security is at an all-time high. There's fencing that wraps all around the Capitol complex. There is a massive law enforcement presence, police that are here from different jurisdictions as well. I saw New York City Police Department officials here as I was walking through the Capitol this morning. But there's also no sort of protest or any sort of organized gathering outside the Capitol this morning. It's just a much different situation. Perhaps the biggest reason for that is the results of the election. Donald Trump won this time, and there was no effort to try and draw people here to Washington to stand in the way of that peaceful transfer of power. Anna?
Gary, tell us what you're seeing and how this snow could affect things.
Hey there. Yeah, the federal government is closed. Schools around the region are closed, but Congress, as Ryan said, is going to be in session. Speaker Mike Johnson made it clear this weekend he didn't want members to leave to go back to their home districts. He wanted them to stay in D.C. in case they couldn't get back here to certify the election. But what a difference 4 years make. I want to show you around here what this looks like. As Ryan was saying, there's members of the NYPD right here outside of the Capitol. There is not only bike fencing that surrounds the United States Capitol, but that 9-foot non-scalable fencing that surrounds the Capitol building itself, and also the Senate and House office buildings where so many thousands of staff and the 435 members of Congress are going to be today. Now, this is a national special security event for the first time ever. What that means is agencies from across local, state, and federal governments are all working together to make sure this is as safe as possible. I want to let you hear from Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger about what he said about the security preparations for today.
The United States Capitol Police are better staffed, better trained, better equipped than ever before to protect our Capitol and to protect our Congress. 4 years ago, the Office of the Inspector General issued over a dozen after-action reports containing 103 recommendations. We have completed every single one of those recommendations.
And some of those recommendations included increasing staffing. They now have more than 2,200 members of the Capitol Police. Increasing training. They did a full exercise back in December where they played out what could happen in different scenarios. They did it on the Capitol grounds, so they have that real-life experience. And it's going to be a really big month for Washington. This is one of 3 national special security events that will take place. We have Jimmy Carter's state funeral later this week, and, of course, the inauguration on January 20th. Anna?
That's right, just a couple weeks away from that inauguration. Melanie, you were at the Capitol on January 6th. What are you feeling on this day?
Yeah, it's a little surreal right now. It was around this time exactly 4 years ago that I was getting ready to go into the Capitol. And I recall sending a text message to my friends and family saying, I just feel like something bad is going to happen, because we had been reporting on the threats of violence. I had seen all the crowds starting to descend on the Capitol. And in fact, I even remember some Republican leadership aides were specifically instructed by their bosses to stay home because we knew what could have happened. And sure enough, there was the storming of the Capitol. I was in the House chamber, part of a group of lawmakers and reporters who were locked down, locked inside the chamber. I heard the gunshot that went off that killed one of the rioters, Ashley Babbitt. I witnessed some of the rioters breaking the glass on the door, trying to get in, and I saw the police officers barricading the door. It was a scary moment there, and it certainly shook my confidence in the security of the United States Capitol. But my hope and expectation for today is that it will go back to what it's always been, which is just a ceremonial certification of the election. There is really tight security. I think the Capitol is much more prepared. And as Ryan said, there's not the expectation that there's going to even be any sort of demonstrations or even lawmakers on the floor trying to overturn this election.
This is one of the first orders of business for the 119th Congress, Melanie. We just saw Speaker Mike Johnson walk a tightrope to keep his gavel on Friday. What type of Congress will President Trump have once he begins his term?
A really tenuous one. What we saw with the speaker's vote really shows us that governing is going to be difficult. And interestingly enough, the people that are probably going to give them the most problems for the agenda are the House Freedom Caucus and conservative hardliners, who theoretically are the most Trumpy of the entire conference. But, they're trying to stand up for things like fiscal responsibility and spending cuts. That is really going to all come to a head as they are trying to enact this massive bill, this reconciliation bill, which is a fast track process that they're just going to try to use as a vehicle to cram everything into. And I would also just point out, Republicans are about to lose 2 more members when Elise Stefanik and Michael Waltz, 2 current members, leave for the Trump administration. So it's going to be an incredibly tight tightrope. They're laying out a very ambitious timeline to get this all done. I'm skeptical that they're going to be able to deliver on that, but we'll just have to wait and see.